In October 2020, in October 2020, I and two other people went to Aja after Lekki. And we spent 6 hours in traffic on our way back. I think we left about 1 and we got into a terrible traffic where we spent about 6 hours. At a point, actually, I had to leave the wheels because I couldn't drive. I had to leave it for the guy because the vehicles had to face each other, trailers, protest, actually, and all that. So, and I was later told that we are actually the last set of people who were opportune to get out of that road. We got out after 6 hours. Other people slept there, and by Monday the next morning, the Nigerian youths had blocked the Lekki toll, Lekki road, and all the people couldn't go to work. That was the NSAS protesting that spiraled into all sorts of stuff. On Monday the next morning, I actually ran to Alausa Secretariat where there was also a protest going on the National Assembly side. So we quickly went through the other side here. And on that Monday, I think Monday or Tuesday, we drove through Aromire Lane and we were turned back. Again, there was traffic. So I went to park the car and I trekked. I trekked from Aromire to Allen Junction and from Allen Junction to Alausa Secretariat. While trekking, I was hearing what the guys were chanting. They were Agberos, they were not graduates. They were chanting and all that, what they were going to do. So I quickly ran into Alausa Secretariat. I went to the Ministry of Justice to pick up a letter. I ran to a particular ministry where we had an ongoing work since 2018 and just to go and see the director and say, see all the youth program that we've said you guys should do and all that, look at the impacts on the streets, I quickly picked my phone. I was talking to one government organ, like, see, wherever you are, please stay safe. Don't let your children go anywhere. I was analyzing the impact locally and globally. Of course, we had a social media generation. I could read what people were saying. I could feel the momentum. But my brain began to work, as an employment solutions person, 60 million unemployed. We've had all sorts of data. We've had data that says there is at least an unemployed person in every household. We've had data that says 60 million Nigerians unemployed. We've had data that says 70% of African youth are unemployed. We've had all sorts of data about employment, the situation. The truth is there is unemployment in our country. And of course, I know that could spiral into. And like I said, hearing what's happening on the Hajaleki axis, hearing what's happening on the Ikeja axis, walking on the street to and fro Alausa Secretariat, I could feel the pangs. And unfortunately, by the time we entered into Alausa, actually, I think it was a Tuesday or so, I'm not sure it was a Monday, they were actually telling the staff that everybody should come out. We have to raise our hands to say, see, I'm not a staff and all that. They were actually giving staff ultimatum to come out of their working place, and the soldiers, Mopo securing Alausa Secretariat, were actually very cautious, very understanding, very empathetic, trying to balance these protesters and the staff and protecting everybody. It was actually still by the grace of God that we got out of that place, and I had to trek back again from that place to Allen Junction to wherever it was I was going to. So again, that thing later spiraled into curfew. I remember some houses were burned. Some people actually ran to our house for cover and all that. So, at a point, we couldn't even go to the market. So everybody felt that until governments had to bring soldiers or whatever it is that happened. The whole nation felt the impact. We also felt it in the Nigerian maritime industry. MPA was actually burnt down. At a point, I was so scared for NIMAREX because I was hearing some hiccups at the tin can. They had to shoot someone. You can imagine if that thing was not quelled, what could have happened? It could have spiraled into a lot of damages that probably the country will still be battling up until now. Look at the BRT buses that were touched and all that. I actually want to talk here about the economic cost of unemployment, NSAS, and the fierce urgency of the now. And let me quickly mention that the top 6 countries that handled the pandemic very well were all led by women. So you have to give us some accolades. Women belong in other places where decisions are being made and not just the other room. It's important for us to continue to emphasize this. So, what exactly is the economic cost of unemployment? I had to go and dig out and hold notes. I remember when Governor Fashola was governor of Lagos State, he said the nation was spending around 60 billion importing artisans. You and I know that if anybody wants to use tilers, plumbers, whatever artisans, we import them even from as close as Ghana, Togo, and all that. Even my own fridge repairer over the last decade has been a Ghanaian. Wherever he is, I have to call him Francis. My fridge is having a headache. My freezer, my AC is a Ghanaian. Why do we choose him? Because he's very diligent, he's very truthful, he knows his job. If he tells you 4 days, the second day you're going to have your fridge and he's only touched it once or twice in 10 years. If you want to buy new stuff or do anything, you just call him, and we've recommended him to so many people just because of his faithfulness and because he knows his job, which isn't the same with Nigerian artisans. But now around 60 billion, that is close to a trillion. 40 billion more, that's a trillion. And I can't really fault that. Now, if we calculate that 60 million unemployed youths, if 60 million unemployed youths or 67 million contributes 1,000 naira level of productivity on a daily basis times 30 days times 12 months, it goes to about 804 billion naira. Again, close to a trillion. There was a project sometimes you win 10 million naira given to one person times 1,200 beneficiaries, which was about 12 billion. We calculated, I can't remember how we calculated that what employers are losing to this lack of productivity and unemployment is about 1.8 trillion. So the total comes to about 3.5 trillion loss annually. And looking at Lagos as Nigeria's business capital. So if we look at unemployment critically, you see that it's actually costing the country itself a lot more than when people are actually productive, contributing value to the country, because some of these values will be domiciled locally and will not need to be imported, Also, sadly, when our president visited, this was UK, United Kingdom, at the beginning of his administration, he was actually telling Christian Annan Paul and David Cameron that Nigerians are fantastically corrupt. And I almost jumped into the television that day to say, excuse me, sir, I'm a Nigerian and I'm not fantastically corrupt. But okay, there's nothing anybody could do about that. We moved. That was the beginning of expatriates or investors not wanting to put money in the hands of Nigerians, not wanting to bring money into the country, I said, but we are now all bearing the brunt that Ghanaians cannot go to the UAE without visa, but Nigerians can't. Twitter establishes Africa office in Ghana, but Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Are we really the giants, In 2016 also, at the Congress Hall of Transcorp Hilton, an event held, there was a heated argument actually, because frank discussions were held, and Mrs. Obi Ezekwesili and Dr. Dan Salami, who later became the presidential chairman of the Economic Advisory Council, as a fallout of the outing with the president and the state governors. Because in 2015, an economic team at the NESG projected that Nigeria needed to make some tough choices, without which there will be an economic recession at 2.6% or whatever, and exactly at the rate which they predicted was what happened. Wilson, I remember also the senior economist at the NESG made a presentation on Nigeria 2050, 30 years from now, painting 3 scenarios to the government, and I think we should revisit that. If I have the video again, I will share it with everyone. Nigeria 2050, the 3 possible scenarios. It showed us the scenarios if things go right, we do the right thing, how nations could spring into prosperity, how health, education, everything, data, facts, and figures projected. There were a lot of governors, state governors on the table. I think Erufai was there, Ogun State governor was there, a lot of people, even Lamido Sanusi, and everybody. I was even in a side shots with him and all that. Then there was also the bad scenario that if we don't do the right thing, these are how things are going to be falling and all that. I think the video should be on YouTube and everybody should look out for it. I want to take that back to relate that back to the Nigerian maritime industry. Why the fierce urgency of the now has to really, really mean something serious beyond lip service. In 2008, I registered my first company. I was still an undergraduate. In 2009, specifically on the last day of the year, the CAC gave us a certificate of incorporation. I got the vision for employment clinic in 2008 at Shiloh 2008. Actually, I was hearing the name employment clinic, and I said, which one is employment clinic again? And the Holy Spirit told me what I was going to be doing, my assignment for God. And I was like, no, I thought it was just recruitment. He said, no, it's not an HR thing, employment solutions. And he began to give me all the necessary legs and all that was going to be under the company. But the first thing was to incorporate. So I used my house rent for that year to incorporate the company, and I'm thankful. And while we were in school, we were holding conferences. Like I said, you can trace my antecedents online. Facebook, the blogs that we're working on, and then everything, the footprint is there. What I was doing up until my last day in the university, I was holding conferences for my fellow undergraduates. And, I hosted Mr. Felicia Phillips, Steve Harris, Mrs. Esongogo, a lot of people who later grew into something bigger and all that, very prominent names in the country. And I shared from my experience. It was just coming out from the school. My first outing after graduation was what led me to the maritime industry, where one of my uncles said I should come to Sheraton and listen to a maritime conference so I could learn the fusion of maritime and economics. He's a senior economist at Economic Associates. And I want the stakeholders of the industry to listen very well and pay very rapt attention, because I want to connect it to the recent happenings in the industry even by 2021. So I want engineer Emmanuel Hilary to please trace the event that he did at Sheraton. He organized that event, I think his company, and Captain Lee Labinjo was a facilitator there, and Ayoteriba, Economic Associate. The event would have happened between September, October 2010. He would have the record. He organized the event. He invited Greg Obefun to make a presentation, where he made a presentation about MV Osayame and all that. Fast forward, that was the very first day that I met him after the presentation, and I gave him my card, orange and black, as a fresh graduate. This is what I do, spoke all the English. And he said he would call me for a meeting when he's in Lagos. Now I want Chief Jola Pamo to also trace the day he had a meeting that he that he gave the assignment to run NIMAREX to both Greg Obefun and Mrs. Fumi Folonsho, because that was the day that I met the two of them again. Apart from the day that I met him at Sheraton making a presentation at Engineer Emmanuel Iloris event in 2010. I know I wrote my last exam September 19, 2010, University of Lagos, and that was the very same day I packed my bag and went home. I can't remember whether I was still in school, but I know it was my final year. It couldn't be lesser than August, September, October. August or September 2010 that I attended that event at Sheraton, that I exchanged cards with Greg Obefun. He said he would call me for a meeting when I was in Lagos. That meeting that he called for was on the very day that Chief Jola Pamo appointed him as president, Nigeria Planning Committee for Nigeria Maritime Expo 2011, and Mrs. Fumi Folonsho was the secretary. Because as I was still looking for the hard dress with my jeans and shirts, and I was looking around in Victoria Island, I received a call. Are you XYZ? I say yes. Are you the one wearing this? I said okay. We walk into so close, and a jeep came. The jeep was gold color Sequoia. So I should walk into that close. So I walked into the close and followed the car. So a man and a woman came down from the car, and I knelt down and greeted the two of them, and we entered. The young man that received us was Emmanuel. I have this picture of in the house. I have it. And Greg said, For me, talk to that young woman. Let's see what we can do with her. I met her at a conference recently. She's very intelligent, blah, 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 blah. So while he was settling down, removing all his documents and all that, he told the Emmanuel to prepare something for everybody to eat. And the woman got me engaged in a conversation and said, we're just coming from an outing where we were entrusted with a national assignment. He is the president and I am the secretary. And she asked if I could use the computer. She asked me everything, and everything was yes, yes, yes. So she gave me her card and said I should see her the next day. Okay. Shortly afterwards, a driver drove in a small pencil car, Toyota green, and by 7:38 thereabouts, it was already dark outside. She was leaving. We all ate. Mrs. Olonshaw, myself, Greg, everybody ate on the same table. Talk and all that and all that. So as she was leaving, I also carried my bag. So she went in the small car. And I also said, good night, sir. At the point where I said good night, sir, is, oh, nice talking to you. Where are you heading? You are not driving? I said, yes. I'm going to water. And he was like, where is that? I said, Ogun State. He said, how do you get there? I said, no, once I go to Obalinde. And he said, oh. And then I said, no. He said, where your parents live? Is that where your parents? I said, no, my daddy is in Abuja. Oh, so you live alone? I said, yes, actually. My parents are separated. And said, oh, you're too young for this kind of journey. We have a big house. Do you mind if we give you an accommodation? Blah, 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 blah. And because the woman had said I should see her tomorrow, even if you go to water, you still wake up in the morning and still come to Surulere. Thus, I accepted the accommodation. And that was where the unfortunate issue happened. Now, help me ask him, because they said even in 2021, he's still talking rubbish up and down that he had a relationship with me. If you really had a relationship with a girl, where did you ask her out? Was it at Engineer Hillary's event? Where you exchanged cards? Or was it on that day that you were meeting her for the very first time with Mrs. Fumi Falanshaw? Mrs. Fumi Falanshaw is alive. That was how I met the two of them. It was even in the conversation that I discovered they were not husband and wife. Good. When the issue happened, like I said, you can't know everything simply because you went to school. That is one disadvantage of me not being social. So I wanted to talk to the woman like, this is what happened to me yesterday. But she was straight into the work issue and know that there is a big queue in a compound in a DBC close in Surulere. That was where we went, and she showed me around. She was going to the office. She had to go to the embassy. These are the documents. This is it. This, da. So I stepped outside to call the man and said, are you the one that said the woman should give me a job? He said, what happened? And I told him. He said, no. But yeah, she interviewed you yesterday. If you think it's something you can do, why not? But make sure everything is documented. So because the woman was talking about job, I was looking at her. Should I tell her about rape? Should I tell her about what this man did yesterday? And the man said he doesn't live in Lagos. She's the secretary. She's reporting to him. And she's offering me a job. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? My company is a young company of just 1 year old. 2010. That was my journey, the beginning of my journey with the maritime industry. And this is somebody representing millions, tens of millions of unemployed youths. We did NIMAREX. I worked for 3 months in the house of Mrs. Fumi Falanshaw without salary. And on one of those days, I made a presentation at Skybank headquarters in Victoria Highland on her behalf. She was there. Greg was there. Olonfemi was there. Onfomusoro was there. They held several meetings at Onfomusoro chambers in Victoria Highland. I know all the offices where they held meetings. I still have many of the minutes of those meetings. And you will see my name there. Because she told me that she's the DG of ISAN. She is the DG of ISAN. Yes, she's the Secretary Planning Committee. And now it's only her company that can handle the communication, but they do not have money. And it's still going to be a conflict of interest for her to be the one managing the communication. So I had to step in. And what's the communication? Emails, letters, prints, envelope, and all that. For 3 months, October, November, December 2010, there was no salary. And I went home on Christmas with no kobo. On the 27th of December 2010, she called me to come and collect my salary, and she paid me 270,000. And out of the 270,000, I paid 150,000 to my landlord, which was my rent for the 3-bedroom flat that I was living in Ota Mobile Estate then. Listen attentively. And I did, of course, Christmas without money, but there was New Year with money. And she said the job wasn't going to continue in January. I shouldn't come again because I was too academic and too intelligent. And I took that up, actually. And I cried, like, too academic and too intelligent. And in Winners Chapel, if you know Winners Chapel very well, we fast every January for 21 days as soon as you enter. So that was my whole point of prayer. And I cried to Bishop Boyedepo, who calmed me and said, I shouldn't worry, everything will be fine. A strange door will open for me. And I prayed that prayer from January to August of that year before they called me and said, there is one job in Badagry, can I go and handle it and all that. The rest is history. If Engineer Hillary can trace the events that he held in August, September 2010, if Chief Dolakpamo can trace the date that he appointed Greg Ogbefu and Fumi Folosho as planning committees, then you have the date that he raped me. That same day that they gave them the appointment was the evening I met them. They were coming from the meeting to Victoria Island where I had my meeting with them. Not that he called me hello. I met him and the woman. And the woman left and I was about leaving and he said, and I busted into tears because my parents actually don't live in Lagos. They've been separated since when I was 3 months. But that experience, use it to judge the experience of thousands and millions of youths out there. You can deduce my resolution. You can deduce from that experience my resolution of staying in the industry. This man doesn't live in Lagos, he's done this. This man gave me a job. If I talk to the woman and to talk to her boss, is her boss not going to scatter the job? If I do not take the job and I go back home, what am I going to be doing? Who am I going to talk to? I had not even discovered my... Okay, let me not even mention that. Because these are personal family issues. So that was how I started my journey in the maritime industry. And Local Content Act was passed then. Every single communication on NIMAREX platform was handled by this young woman. I still remember every expression of interest form that I processed. There was one from New Era Capital Corporation in the US by a man called Chamberlain Peterside, who happened to be a brother to the Kuku Peterside, who later became a commissioner for finance in Rivers State. He was an American that I processed his expression of interest. There was Liba Crane, I processed the expression of interest. There was Captain Emmanuel Ihenacho, Integrated Oil and Gas, who called and said, how can you be doing this kind of event and people like us are not there? And I couldn't handle. They said, it's the Minister for Interior. I was shaking on the phone and I said, I will communicate with the President and the Secretary and they will get across to him, and I did just that. So everybody that I know in the Nigerian maritime industry as of today, I knew them on that platform. I single-handedly managed the communication, the email, the letters, the correspondences, the communication. While there was another lady, Alero, who had a car then. A pencil car was like the pencil car of the Madame Folonshaw. So she uses that in distributing letters, sometimes taking it to dispatch and all that. And there was a small boy, Shiumu Ajayi, who was the computer guy, you know, all the technicality, OPS, this and that. Those were the 3 people that worked in a BQ to make that event a possibility. It was at NIMAREX that I saw Greg's wife for the first time. I still remember the clothes that she was wearing, the room she slept in. I still remember the shoe that even her daughter was wearing and their son, Efosa. I processed all the documentation that was there. I got their contacts for it. But then we were fighting this issue on the ground. And I will share with everybody, including Commonwealth, Ahebo, or anybody, the picture of the day that he came to Ogun State 4 months after. 1 month after NIMAREX, because NIMAREX was what kept us and we're busy. His birthday was in February. They said he was doing 60th and he postponed the birthday because NIMAREX was a priority. They finished the NIMAREX, then they went to Port Harcourt, which everybody went to. They put my name on the invitation. I still have everything. He even put my name as Mrs. We went, I remember you will tell what I was with the other people that we were. So, the industry My entry point into the industry was NIMAREX 2011. That happened in March. April, 1 month after that, after he had cleared NIMAREX, after he had cleared his birthday, he flew down back to Lagos and came to us at Covenant University Chapel. And when I saw his wife, I wanted to enter the ground and say, why did you bring your wife into this matter? And he was like, even my wife is fighting and this and that. And I was still managing the issue. Quiet dignity of Ronke Kusoko. Which was which was the beginning of my keeping a face. Because when they gave birth to me, with shame. I had shame. I had a sense of shame, a sense of dignity. I don't do anyhow. So I kept the issue to myself. I had everybody's email. I had everybody's access to everybody. And I was keeping a face and smiling harshly. So if you had ISAN, you had NISA, you never heard anything from me. Yes, it wasn't a mistake. There was actually a day that I got back home around 11 p.m. and my gate estate security was scared. Where are you coming from? I said, sir, I'm coming from work. I said, I left work around 6, sir. And there was traffic on the way. Then you would balance bike and motor. Sometimes you could take bike from Boshodi to toll gate and another. 10 years later, the road is still a mess like that. I don't live there anymore since 2013. But that was the same place his policemen came because that's where my church is. And when the problem happened, I just went to church, praying for 21 days and just kept quiet. And it was on the day that I finished the 21 days that it came with their gun. But I'm not going back to those stories. The stories will tell itself. The person that is hiding something will expose himself. My focus is the present situation of NIMAREX versus NIMS, ISAN versus SWAN, and all the rubbish that they have done in this industry in the last decade. Because they said they are creating jobs. They said they want to make the country a superpower. They said they want to do this, they want to do that. All the promises that they made about NIMAREX, they are in my hand. As a young girl with vision, I know all that they said. I must pump and pageantry. Like I said, I manage all the communication. I remember the entrance of Yusuf Suleiman, the Minister for Transport. I remember the gala nights. I still have the picture of my black dress. I was sitting even beside the Chamberlain Pizza side. I still have the picture inside the hotel. I remember all that transpired. Even as soon as they finished and they started fighting, Biology Akinola, Labinjo, Fumi Folonshaw, Greg, everywhere scattered, everything they did, I just walked away. But I was observing, as usual, in my quiet manner. So I am the only custodian, as the youngest, the only lady, and the only custodian of everything NIMAREX, aside the core industry stakeholders by themselves. That is where I met all of them. That is where I got to know them. That's where I got their contact. That's where I got everything that has to do with ISAN, NISA. We worked in the office of Chief Dolakpamo in Apapa. So I'm not a novice to the process. After that, they said they are fighting at ISAN, NISA. Again, on the day of the election of NISA was the day I signed NIMASA contract, and I finished from NIMASA and drove straight to Rockview Hotel. Yes, and that day I remember very well what happened outside, where I was telling Uncle Ayo Adedoye that see, everybody should try and be on the same platform, and where they left there and they went to start SWAN, I was there. Again, Greg's wife was there. We sat on the same table with Admiral Ombo. I kept a face. She knows me, and So for Captain Taiwo Akintodume, that they said I am the one that chased the woman out of her home. Maybe he can bring his record where Greg told him that I chased the wife, or where Pastor Christy herself can say that to my face. Because this is a woman that said, Ronke, the girl that we went to meet in Nota, that my husband wants to do that too. Tell her to go and call human rights. The woman was solidly on my side from day one. The Facebook conversation that we had, long email that even, because she had to confront Greg and all that. As at that time, Greg was even dating his daughter's friend, Peace Awak, who is also on my phone, because she was also at NIMAREX. And Greg was actually taking her home. And I was the one that said, see, because the issues always spill out. And I just stayed on my own. Brought my pain under my clothes and decided to take my own career in my hands from there onward. And I attended every conference, every seminar, every meeting, every outing. And at that time, up until today, I have a lot of admirers, a lot of men asking me out, and I never dated them intentionally because I was processing pain that I wasn't ready to share with anybody. I know them. I know what they say. I know what they discuss amongst themselves. I'm not ready to be part of all those things. All I'm interested in was my work, and that was what I focused on. So I signed my work even without Greg knowing. And it was 2 years after. After that election day, I never saw him again until 2016 at a CFAX event. Again, Maritime event with Margaret Orakusi, with the same engineer Ilori and all that. I still have the picture. I document things. So years later, now they said there is NIMS, Nigeria International Maritime Summit, and I read all the gibberish that they wrote there. And I said, I listened to what everybody is saying. In my presence, there was ISAN. The same person crashed the place. In my presence, there was NISA. They crashed the place. In my presence, there was Swan. He didn't want to leave the place. I know all the politicking that happened, even that his vice president almost punched him, and they fought at the meeting because he wanted to plant his stooge until the man fought for his own life and became president and got 2 tenures. And now they can't control that place again. I know how that they did at Chamber of Shipping. He himself, Greg Ogbefon, will say everything that Ify Akrele is doing on that platform, she's doing it for herself. Baba Sarumi said even the Chamber of Shipping that was supposed to give the industry direction needs to be under leadership, Mrs. Obi Hageli Obi, I was sitting on the same table at the hotel where she was narrating all her sorrow and how she has left the place. She was Ify Akrele's friend. I was there when they were doing Maritime Roundtable. I was there when industry stakeholders say all sorts about platforms. I never for once created a platform intentionally, apart from my companies that I came in with and that I'm still standing on today. Now, 10 years later, I can't point to 10 jobs or 10 new faces that this old industry has brought to the table, apart from the people that government puts in civil service, who are basically Hausa boys and girls. I can't point to any new employment that this entire industry has created. There's 100 people that I can say from NISA, ISAN, SWAN, NIMAREX platform that said these 100 people grew from this platform in 10 years. All the people that I met there, Kunle, Bolawo, everybody, I know what they are saying. I'm even still one of the brightest that they are all in their career path. So we know the beginning of all these things. So we have the capacity and the authority to say a few things. And for the idiots that say I'm not a critical stakeholder, I hope they know better now that I may have just spent only 10 years, that I actually invested 30 years. Because I actually never had a mentor. I actually never had anybody has a ladder to climb on their shoulder. I learned everything by myself in a hard way, and I paid a price. If it was pennies that I came for, I would have slept around. All of you would have the record today. And I'm using this opportunity to plead that if you please have seen my nakedness before in this industry, that I slept with you here, I slept with you there, I did this, I did that, I'm asking you to bring it out now. I'm asking you to bring it out now, because all those rubbish that they are talking, except for one person that I dated 7, he also wants to bring out, whether to blackmail me, whether to, he should bring it out. But he's a mature person, he's a high-profile person, he was a mutual relationship between the two of us. And he asked me about Greg, and I told him. And he decided what he wanted to do. You should understand in the whole thing, and said, haven't you heard what people have been saying about you? I said, well, you are a man. You are a man. You all know each other. You know where you work. Have you ever seen me coming inside to collect payments from anybody? I said, I dated when I felt comfortable to date. And I'm not going to talk until after 1 year. And I didn't talk until after 1 year. I talked when I was ready to talk. Not because of his bullying and all that. I do things my own way. My parents don't tell me what to do. They don't even know a lot of things about me. I followed God by myself at age 18. I left father, I left mother, and I went to church. And I locked myself in that church for 10 years. All my vision, all my purpose, my parents don't know about it. I know my vision. God told me, if 1 million people tell you yes and I tell you no, follow my no. If 1 million tell you no and I follow you, I tell you yes, follow my yes. So I'm crazy. I can be, sometimes you can't explain the reason for my action. You are saying a lot of things, God is telling me what to do. At the beginning of this fight, he told me, said, be resolute, like Hester. That is what God told me, be resolute. So they came with gun, I survived. They came with police, I survived. They came with assassination, I survived. They came diabolically, they took my name to different altars, I survived. There is recording of every step that they took. All the places that they carried me to, like this girl, they wanted to kill her. Even where we stood and vehicle just kept to each us, there is nothing that did not happen.
Why did they have to go that far if they did not have something that they are hiding? And later when all failed, they said, I'm a witch. Then they began to talk rubbish all around in the industry, just that when we blackmail her name, nobody will want to have anything to do with her. Nobody will want to help her. Nobody will want to do business with her. And I said, the truth is the truth. Somebody wrote a letter to the police and said he was my boyfriend, and got to the court and said he was a mentor, he was a father, he was this, he was that, and talking rubbish, confusing himself. And has now come back to the industry and said it was a relationship. They should go back to court for Justice A.C. Faji. If there are video recordings, they should show them what happened in the court. And everybody can make their own deduction. Commonwealth can investigate by themselves. IMO can investigate. There is a way FBI investigate the CP Habak Carry. And they didn't argue with him, they just showed him all his records. They said, I called Victoria, they should bring out the call record, investigate MTN, bring out the voice recording where I called her. I never did. Not for once, not forever. Even when she was calling me, I said, I have the screenshot it tomorrow. I never picked, I never said a word. I only called the lady, her son GT. She said, never pick. And who was she? She was a front desk executive at the office where they gave Greg to run Swan. Another evidence that wherever he goes, he runs his penis all around like a tap. They told me don't be in a hurry. At the right time, God will expose all of them. So I'm watching. But so for some people that have chosen to attack me on my work, because they felt because whatever happened between me and a big man, I'm the one that should go down because they are men. They are toxic men. Because if you are a good man, you know that this is a lady. And you know what it means for even you as a man to survive in this industry. You know what our industry is all about. It's an industry of mafias. It's an industry of killers. It's an industry of all sorts of setup. We have survived not because of anything, because we learned through the ropes. Having said that, 10 years later, in 10 years they have crashed 5 platforms before my very little height. ISAN, Shema of Shipping, Swan, and now NIMS. And they keep repeating the same thing. Like I said, 10 years, they should all come together and show me 100 people that they've created jobs for. You organize events, seek sponsorship, put yourself at the front, do photo ops, and then share money, do all sort of rubbish, sleep with 5-10 people all around. Then you are rubbing your stomach, talking to minister, talking to DG, fighting for contract. The same ISAN where they gave him an assignment, he crushed the people there and took the platform from their hand. The same young people, you try to crush them and take their project away from their hand. Never developed any. Go and talk to the people at Swan. Go and talk to the people at NIMAREX. Go and talk to the people at ISAN. Every one single of them are almost begging today. The 1, 2, 3 that were able to survive were helped by international organization. I was able to survive because from day one I never followed them. Even Labidjo that they said was an oil bunker. Even the ones that are his foot soldiers now are raising shoulder and said they are sheep now coming to ask me out, coming to talk rubbish. Shebi, they say you are the one that chased Greg's wife away from the house. Nothing goes for nothing. They want to take me to DG. This and that. They think I just sleep around. You have never even been my friend for 1 year. You are asking to sleep with me. Who told what is inside your penis? That is not in the penis of another man. How many men have I seen in my life who do things for me that even do not even make me to know that I did not have a boyfriend for almost 8 years? Have you seen men that say, Ronke, buy whatever you want, they can buy me provision for 6 months? And I come tired. They say, no, take anything that you want. When they give them things for Christmas, Ronke, take anyone that he wants. Ronke, do this, Ronke, and give me work and all that. Just make sure I'm happy. Buy me phones, do things for me. Sometimes they will see a cloth and say, that cloth will fit you. Do you like it? Buy it, I'll pay for it. They're not even my boyfriend. So who are you? Anyway, let's fast forward. After the fight, I waited in Nigeria because I had some other work on the table. The sitting DG actually told me that everything that I know will help this administration succeed, I should go and put it to work. And I called 4 professionals to the table to develop a concept for him, which he has a concept document. And of course, I had some other jobs. I had to pay for another apartment and stay back in Nigeria to follow my work. And I left the apartment empty. I only brought my fridge, my freezer, my gas cooker, and a bed, and a few things, generator, that I need for I didn't even move my library, which was a full room on its own. Then thankfully we had some office load at Ikoyi and see a healthy office. I moved it. because I have decided one leg in Nigeria, one leg abroad. But I won't leave my work in the hands of anybody. And I do not have any regrets. And we kept the apartment for our expatriates. Whenever they come into Nigeria, they decide what they want to do with their apartment. Instead of living in hotels at exorbitant prices, they set it up. So when they are around, they use it. When I'm around, I use it. And I kept a car. Instead of paying 20,000 for a taxi to take you around Lagos every day, maybe now 30,000, 40,000, use my car, just fuel it. I pay my service charge. I have a place where I park 1 or 2 cars, so I don't have to be there. They can use it. Like I said, another 1 year was wasted. Nothing happened. Nigeria kept playing politics. I said 10 years, 2010 to 2020, or 2011 to 2021. I dare all these industry stakeholders to come out and say these are the 100 jobs that we have created. With all the fanfare, with all the same personality has scattered all these platforms just for himself to thrive, just for him to be at the forefront of everything. At age 70, and people say, 2 powerful people in the industry say, where is his son? And I said, he can't show up, because when I was busy building my life, that his father wanted to destroy, God has already compensated him by hooking his child to drug, who was confined to a rehab. And let me make it clear to everybody, there is nobody that dear my life that will ever benefit from the life of their children on the face of this earth. None of them will die. But whatever they do to me, God will take it back on the life of their children. Anybody that wants me there, their children will die. They will bury their own children while they are alive. Anybody that say I should not survive on my work until the day they leave this earth, they will be battling one problem or the other on their job. They will never experience real happiness. Except my hands are not clean. Except any word has proceeded out of my hands, there is a lie. There is a scheme that we have been working on for 7 years. I have talked about it. For 1 year, we could not find one person that could be the champion, even though we had the opportunity on the table. We had to go and look for an international company to come and certify. When the Nigerian institutes refused to unite, the value chain is never completed because they are always proving big man. They are always proving, I sabi pass you, I know the president, and we know the minister. They have not built anything for any young person, and that is where my passion is. That is where my pain is. That is where my sacrifice is, because no young boy or young girl should come into this industry and experience what I experienced, or even all the other people. The only people that do not have a problem in this industry are the outside young boys and girls who were pushed into civil service by the Duly administration. Or their father is this, their father is that. They do not have any reason to suffer for anything. Every other person, they are onto themselves crying, groaning. One comes from Redeem Camp to Ikoyi every day. It's crying every day. In his career progression, in his career mentorship, nobody to offer it. We created a platform, our company created a platform that will train, empower, mentor, place 5,000 youths in 10 years. And we are on it. And the only platform where we can drive that is in partnership with NIMAREX. Because that is the platform, NIMAREX and ISAN, that is the platform that accommodates everybody, where there is no arrogance. Yes, the leadership needed to change and the people moved that the generation there had to hand over to another generation. One person that has been consistent with his level of humility is Uncle Adedone. His father is a rich industrialist. I have known the Duly group of companies since when I was a teenager in Ijaniki. There is a bus stop from Ijaniki to Boleri. If you are going to Boleri, where is Duly bus stop? It is their company that owns that bus stop because of the fact that is there. So knowing that man and meeting him, I was like, what? A rat in their house is a billionaire. A goat in their house is a billionaire. Their billionaire level is like the eleganza or Koya level. But never arrogance, never a chip on their shoulder. You can offend him, you can argue with him. Next minute, you are hitting together. Okay, I don't agree. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. You better stand there and listen when we are talking to you, sir. After that, Julia, do you have die of okra? Me, I want about or bring rice. Eat. That's all. Never arrogant for 1 day. And for this same 10 years, Greg has always been about raising shoulders. Ayo does not like me. Everything about me is angry. I am the one that brought Duly from London when he was suffering. He worked against me. For me, I'm free. Follow, short, evil, wicked woman. Talk rubbish about everybody. That Kuku is it. That boy used to come to sleep in my house before they gave him the appointment. He will crawl on my couch as if his life has ended. He got the position. It's not. Jamo is a boy. You know that boy is the president boy. McFoy, I gave her 50,000. You know she was broke. If you are currently so person is sleeping with her, everything she's doing, everybody he has something to say about them. And Sumaka, she wrote an article against me. You know, everybody is against him. He's the only one that is better than everybody. Everybody is a subject to him. Go and listen to Swan, go and listen to ISAN people. Everybody has the same notion about him. That is the person that has gone to set up another platform, saying he's working for the industry. Which industry? Who are you representing? Which stakeholders? Because for 10 years they have not represented my interest in any way, or the interest of any Nigerian youth. None of them has represented anything. I got to NESG by myself. I got to everywhere that I've done anything by myself. NIMAREX, I have explained my story. I did whatever it is that I needed to do there by myself. So how can somebody say it's all about him? But 2050 is near us. 2050, the next 30 years. Is it the same 70-year-old, 80-year-olds that will be telling us that they want to build our future for us? A future that they are not going to be a part of. What exactly in that future do they understand? Have they defined their own future? Have they built their own future apart from the pennies that they are peddling around? Captain Adeyemo is dead again. On the APC platform, we are trying to secure the future. APCU says the future is a decision. President Buhari said, learn from us, learn from our strengths, learn from our mistakes, and chart your own path. They are stepping aside, grooming other people. On the NESG platform, they said we are securing the future. There is a fierce urgency of now, if not now, when? The 70-year-olds that I know on that platform, I've handed over to the 50-something-year-olds in the last 10, 15 years. Those in their 50-something are telling us we are growing old, we need to begin to train people. They have been training us for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Consciously in their 50s and in over, across all policy commission. Now on the maritime industry platform, what are we securing? And how are we securing the future? A question which must be answered no matter which divide you belong to. Honestly, I'm very happy that they ganged up against me in support of patriarchy. And I say, what have they done? Let them show us. We are talking. What have you done for us? We do not know. I said in 10 years, bring out the 100 jobs, 100 new faces that all of them cumulatively have been employed or developed or built or mentored. I'm not talking about one person, I'm saying the entire industry. And there I will surrender my entire life at their feet. Because I know everything and everybody across all spectrum in the last 10 years. And I was very happy when it fought me because it was an opportunity that the mouth that I have locked, always observing and looking away, now we will open the mouth and the stomach, which we have done. And now we have become a problem. It's on in their flesh. Because what needs to be said needs to be said. Like I said, I have addressed NIMAREX, I've addressed ISAN people, I've said what I wanted to say. But which platform exactly wants to drive the next phase of public-private dialogue in the Nigerian maritime industry? Intelligently managing all sides in a proactive manner and can do it consistently for the next 10, 20, 30, 25 years at least. A rallying point for all power brokers where interests are successfully managed in a win-win atmosphere. NESG has existed for 27 years. In October, will be had in Houston again. 27 years. A generation handed over to those who are there. Those who are there, I said they are in their 50s, they have handed over consciously or handing over consciously and building people, pushing them into policy rooms, telling them how things are done across policy commission, showing them how they engage presidents, how they engage ministers, how they write their letters and ministers get to listen to them. These young people, we are now speakers on the same platform from being rapporteurs just in less than 5 years. We are already at the front stage. So the next 30 years in Nigeria 2050 in her ramification requires a new level of intellectual energy as well as physical vigor, flexibility and dynamism, leveraging a lot of sectors, new thinking, new initiatives, new partnerships, long-term presence in policy rooms. Even the demographics must change. You have to pay attention to women. and youth, young and female. But how can 80, 70-year-old, 60-year-olds be running an agenda for a future that they are not going to be a part of? Success without successor is failure. These elders have failed, and they want to fail with their whole future. What are the 50-year-olds or 40-year-olds doing? Or why are we all not tired of mediocrity? Why are people really not ashamed of not retiring from the public space in this climb called Africa? They renewed Dr. Otedo Pisoside's position at Cabre, and he rejected the offer, saying there are younger people with new skill sets and they should be allowed to lead and to replace him, that it doesn't have to be him every time. I was shocked. So why can't the elders of the Nigerian maritime industry do so? If Akoko Pisoside is 50 years old, for God's sake, why are they not allowing him lead platform? Why must it be a 70-year-old? There is a 20-year-old gap between the 50 and the 70-year-old. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, in 20 years a lot can be done. How can a 70-year-old say he's starting something that his children or myself his children should be on the table knocking it out with somebody like me? He said the things in my head are bigger than my head. That shows where I'm coming from, the kind of capacity that is in me. When he told me to go and help him raise money at Swan, he told me when I get there I should raise my shoulder because the capacity that I have, they don't have. That is true. He said, did they have BS, MBA, he couldn't write a letter. He has to write the letter from his office in Port Harcourt. I wrote the letter, I went and talked to people by myself on sponsorship before I began to drag them in as members. The letters are there, the evidences are there. I felt, since I'm helping him on this, help me on CVFL. Since I'm helping him on this, help me on talking to the Akoko. Then I took his letter to the same NESG people. Not knowing that it was an Olori Buruku who was going to crash my work and investments. Why must they die running for survival by all means at the expense of the next generation? Is it that bad for them that they have nothing else doing? And they alone can do things, which to me confirms all that I've been saying. That the elders failed with their own generation, a generation that drank milk in school, that had 1 naira equal to a 68 kobo. A generation that has scholarship, wanting to destroy those of us that did not have any scholarship by any school. They failed to build the next generation. They failed with their own generation. Now they try to destroy those of us who built our own future by ourselves. And now wants to forcefully and intentionally fail with the next generation, which are the millions of young Nigerians who are unemployed. Because all these their actions is just to protect their own survival instincts by all means. And we can't allow that to happen, honestly. It cannot work. I've been here for 10 and 11 years. I saw everything to his nook and cranny. We developed something new. We changed strategy. They wanted to kill us. Because it's all about gathering sponsorship. Befriending the government, which is nothing bad. But at the expense of who? You are not developing anybody, only yourself. All that they said last decade, amidst pomp and pageantry, did not happen. We were there. A decade ago, it was all empty talks. The talk has not turned to action. Power play, personal aggrandizement, power grab, plot and plot twist. Operation pull others down to remain president by all means. Me, myself, and I. If the platform does not work, I establish another one. I cannot sit down on the table with anybody. I'm the best of everybody. You know, someone even turned the platform, almost turned the platform to a cultural place. Chief Collins, where is he today? All at the expense of national development and real job creation. That the real private sector people began to look at. We as we can be part of that rubbish. So how are we sure these elders can deliver the next generation? Or the next decade? Or even the next 10 years? Or even the next 20 years? Or even the next 30 years, for that matter? It is not the work of ship owners to drive public-private dialogue. They should face their business-wide development workers who knows what they are doing, be allowed to do their jobs. Dr. Bashir Jamo said on page 66 of his book, Harnessing Nigeria's Maritime Master, the past, the present, and the future, that NIMAREX be revived. And I tried to work with him for a whole year, telling him what needs to be done. Everybody is asleep, but no progress until they all die. Captain Adeyemo is dead. Captain Omotoshe died in my presence. Captain Yaguan died in my presence. Admiral Alex Peter, Olonfemi, Captain Adamo Bill. Even Admiral Lombo generation will be calling people and asking them to send them 20,000. All this generation are dying out of frustrations and unfulfilled aspirations. transferring nothing to nobody. I know how many years I spent going to learn under Engineer Akisoji in his retirement in Abeokuta, and he poured so much into me, always inspired by the fact that I'm still hanging in there. Captain Adeyemo, I still remember his face. Elderly man, a 34, died unfulfilled. We need to start a new level of sustainable conversations in the Nigerian maritime industry, and the time to do that is now or never. Please learn from President Buhari, you these elders. Learn what he did for the next generation of Fulanis. There are lots of lessons. Yes, he may be running an Hausa nation, but he knows that he will be living by 2023. The first thing he did was to build the next generation, to position them, to give them the opportunity to take routes, to give them the opportunity to be everywhere. And now they can continue to grow. 20, 30 years from now, he will still be in control of so many things just by positioning the younger generation, giving them the opportunity to lead and grow, and therefore has taken care of his own future. But imagine him running around at his age, say, I want to be everywhere, I want to be everything, because he doesn't want to leave the state for others. That's how you fail in the South. Having nothing endure beyond you and your immediate family, and this we all need to stop and unlearn all this rubbish. I honestly do not care about the politics or the rationale behind names. I don't expect it to come up in the first place. If you cannot work with NIMAREX, you cannot work with ISAN, you cannot work with ISAN, you cannot work with Chamber of Shipping, you cannot work with SWAN, then you are the one who has failed, not the industry. So he is the one that people should find a way to get rid of and look at the issues critically and say, what needs to change? We have enough platform to run things in the Nigerian maritime industry. We don't need a new platform. We all need to have sense, because the future actually started yesterday and we are already late. There is a fierce urgency of now on several issues. If not now, when? Everybody's talking about the future. They are allowing young people lead the conversation. A young person built her work for 6 years in a particular agency. All you needed to do was to speak to somebody while she was helping you on another project, which is nothing bad. Anybody can twist it to a penis vagina issue if they have sense. Didn't Engineer Ilori date one Cameroonian lady, a very mature lady? They both worked together. I don't know where she is today. I'm not even sure she's still in Nigeria. Why didn't they accuse Engineer Ilori of rape? People can have relationship. It's allowed. What I had with him was not a relationship. I was a young girl, a graduate of economics, learning so much in school and hearing about maritime and shipping, hearing about opportunities and jobs that he could create, running an organization called Employment Clinic. I was enthusiastic and I jumped to a 60-year-old man. He's even older than my father. I have never dated an aristo in my life. Even my young friends that are my age mates, they know me that after they interview them, looking for the right fit for my future. I was supposed to go to NYSC and go and marry. I never even did NYSC before that meeting I had with them. I had not done NYSC. I just came out of school. If you can help me find the date that Engineer Ilori did the event at Sheraton in the last quarter of 2010 and the date that Engineer Baba Jola Pamo appointed Greg Ogbefu as President Planning Committee of NIMAREX 2011 and for me follow short, that is the date that I was raped. I had not done NYC. I just finished school. I had not even collected my certificate. We went to collect our certificates in December. That was how I could not go. And the next year, July, was when they called us for NYC. Then I was already battling. I was already in the midst of the storm. I decided to take my career. My leg is already here. This man wants to destroy my future. If he were my boyfriend, he would have sent me to NYC. He would have helped me build my career. From that day till now, he wanted to kill me, wanted to destroy me. I said 10 days to his marriage to Victoria Ogbefu, even in 2018 or 2019. He called me to a meeting. I hope you have forgotten the past. If there was no past, why was he trying to erase it? Because I had to take the only thing that was available to me, my work. And I had to build. I can go and do NYC later. I can marry later. This is the only thing I could say. It's what I gained from coming to this industry where I've had a lot of pains. And I'm saying it, I'm putting it on record. If you are a man, whether I'm working with you or you ask me out and you felt because I didn't date you, you can block me, or because of the issue, because Greg exposed me to battle, you can do rubbish or plot evil against me. I stand before the Lord Almighty. You will not die. But you will bury the most important child in your life while you are still living. If you do me evil, except I have done you evil. They block the way against me, let her not make money. Except I have blocked the way against you not to make money. You remove me from table, no matter the position that you are occupying on the face of the earth. My God will make sure that is there. In fact, you will have an evil fall that will be worse than this people are carrying. This edge, I call it every day that I wake up. Every single day, that is the only person I have to talk to. My head and my God. Except I have done anything to lie. For him to have the audacity to kidnap me, he was actually looking for information against a 70-year-old, looking for information against a 30-something-year-old. I said, what? Do you know how many years he spent stalking me? If any man asks me how, he said, I'm getting close, he don't want me to get close so that I won't talk to the person. I battled for 10 years before I summoned the courage. If arrest is what will make me to talk, something must happen for me to be able to talk. I'll save my whole life so that everybody will know who has been trying to kill me under the radar for years. And that hooked him. But it was my whole liberation. God said, be resolute like Esther. A man used his own hand to dig the pit where he was buried with all his entire children. There is nobody that rises against you that will not bury the most important child in your life. That is what God told me. So it's been going to 3 years. I am resolute. On the day it will happen to be like free, I don't need to know their name. If they are 100, they will bury the most important child in their life. Some of them will be victim of prison. Some of them will be victim of antagonism. If they have position, they will be facing problem on their position. They will be seeing evil crisis that will be more than their life. They will just say, God, why did you give me this position? There is somebody at the corner that did not offend you, that you tried to destroy. I heard this fighting. I heard the speaker. For those of you who are told Yoruba, Eleda Ojajogundo. The conclusion of this matter is NIMS cannot stand. Revive NIMAREX. Revive ISAN. It is not everybody that is a swan that is a ship owner. There are 90% of things that you are not doing at NISA, ISAN, NIMAREX. That is what you should go and do. I will help you. NIMS is not the solution or the way forward for the Nigerian maritime industry. And if they said this is the solution, it should be led by somebody that is not more than 50-year-old. Somebody who can rally around everybody. This industry is bigger than any ship owner. It's bigger than any one person. Go back to harnessing everybody in different clusters. There is so much to be done. If they don't know what to do, we will tell them what to do, and everybody will make money. Everybody will advance. Young people will know where the money is, locally and internationally. We do not have a platform to drive because the elders are thieves. They are armed robbers. What am I doing in Nigeria that I cannot travel to go and do? I have to sit back, spending millions to even stay. I'm paying rent, I'm paying service charge, I'm paying even bribe plus a millions just to stay on ground, to follow my own paper by myself in the last 1 year. How can you be in the midst of people for 10 years and you cannot trust? And I'm not the only one facing this. Even DG Nimasa told somebody that he doesn't trust anybody except one person. It is not to his own shame, it is to the shame of the system. How can people be so bad that somebody grew within your system for 25, 30 years and he cannot trust you? He cannot trust people in the industry. He has to go and bring an outsider to trust. It is a shame on you. He knows how the system runs. He knows how the industry runs. It is an indictment on all of you. Because you have used your riburuku to rubbish our own generation. Even with our integrity, we can't try. And let me close with the words of the vice president. If you think everybody is doing wishy-washy, President Buhari said he has tested vice presidents and he has never been found wanting. That man maintains his integrity. I've had his contact, phone number and email since even before he became vice president. I have it till now. I have people working in his office that are accessible by WhatsApp or phone call. Even some, I have direct access. His direct line, vice president of this country. He said something. He said, even a thief who stole money does not want another person to steal his own. So maintain your integrity by all means. I'm hearing that the northern governors want him as president because they unanimously agree that he is not interested in anything. He's not over ambitious. And now he is in a position where money cannot get to him. So if you think I don't know how to steal, I don't know how to snatch husband, I don't know how to do anything, I know how to do it. But I'm protecting something bigger. I'm protecting my future. I can have 100 cars in one day. I can have 100 houses in one day.
I can have anything that I want as long as I maintain my integrity sexually and financially. So help me God. Shame on everybody that have plotted evil against you. You will bury the most important child in your life when you least expect it. As you have ganged up against me, heaven will gang up against you. You will never get to your promised land, except I have done you any evil.